that's, I have 3 kids, and I moved to this neighborhood, although it was above my pay grade before. I borrowed money from my parents just to move into this school district. And one of the reasons I wanted to be a member of the school board, I'm sure all the candidates before me go, oh, they all have noble reasons to be part of the school board. For me, it's more selfish. The trees on Ralston are a big issue for me. I've written to Mike Pera a long time ago. I said, those trees are dangerous. My lawyer said, if I don't complain and they fall down, it's an act of God. But if I complain and they fall down, then it becomes a liability of the school. So every year I've been writing emails to Mike Pera. I've been telling him, those trees gotta go. But then, I don't know, they're still there. So that's one of the personal issues that I'm pushing for. Secondly, when my elder kids were going to Crocker, they've always received, is it red ribbon or blue ribbon awards?
You mean the school?
Yes.
It used to be a national program called Blue Ribbon.
Okay, so they used to receive these awards before. Lately, hasn't been coming in. So I'm kind of like, hey, maybe something needs to be improved in that aspect. Other issues include traffic. I mean, Mike Pera showed me this big diagram of, hey, we're going to do this lane, we do this, do this, do this. Unfortunately, nothing happened. All I saw was one stoplight that was probably, 30,000 to put on the exit of Crocker. And then now it's been moved. And I'm like, what's going on? And there are more personal issues than, obviously everybody has kids benefit in mind, but.
We're just ready.
Oh, lastly, of course. Hillsborough has always been a very quiet neighborhood. Like, I think last November I read this article about some turmoil in the school board about hiring additional superintendents or something at $200,000 a year or something. So I'm like, it's a private issue. Why is it, on the newspaper? So if I serve on the board, hopefully, I'm a guy who likes to make everybody happy, although that's impossible, but everything can be compromised and work out.
Thank you. Number 4, identify a recent board decision that you felt strongly about and describe how you would balance community concerns, student needs, the law, staff considerations, and your personal values to determine how to vote on the issue.
One of the reasons that I wanted to run for school board was because my kid always said I've never participated in any school activities. So unfortunately, I'm not aware of any board decisions recently. And I'm telling my kid, well, spot open up. You want me to participate in school? I'll do it. Instead of, serving lunch at the lunchroom or stuff like that. So this is my participation.
Thank you. All right. Question 5 is a little longer and it has a couple of parts. So we'll get through it, and if you have any questions, let me know. I can move back over and answer these for you. So there's a premise, and then there'll be some questions. The premise is the school district is committed to making a balanced reinvestment in multiple areas, including enhancing world language, increasing professional development, investing in technology, maintaining competitive compensation for our staff, and considering requests to help fund a turf field. Knowing that board members in the community have diverse priorities, A, what is your primary goal in the decision-making process? B, how will you approach the board discussion, knowing that board member and stakeholder opinions will differ on each issue? C, how will you analyze and formulate your position if your child will be personally affected by the outcome? And D, how will you respond if you do not persuade a majority of the board to support your position, or if you're in the majority, vote is not unanimous.
Well, I guess the question is there, I'm for all these propositions, and anything for progress, improvements is good. The question is there a budget for it? The money's there, why not? The biggest resource or the biggest income to the school's budget are the people seated behind me. I mean, this is, without being, this is a very rich community. If you need funds to do something, just have to say, hey, the school needs this, we need some help, we need funding. The money will come. So, and if the decision doesn't go my way, well, there's always next year. I mean, these arguments can be done in private, it doesn't need to be on the newspaper. So, and then if it goes my way, that's great, more improvements to the school. We're not just talking about, for example, the new music hall at Crocker. It's not just for my kids, it's for kids and generations to come. That building is going to be there for the next 40, 50 years. So, anything for the school is good for the kids. So. I am a very frugal guy, so obviously investing is one thing, overspending is another. We need it. What's the standard? Get 3, 4 pulls, get it done. So, still gets done.
Thank you.
I don't have political answers, I just say that.
It's not. Okay, are there any questions from the listeners?
Thanks. You mentioned that you've talked to Mike Pera quite a bit about a number of issues. You mentioned an interest in the trees on Ralston and the traffic. And I was just wondering. He has retired.
Oh,
so I was going to ask you, so he was the director of Hillsborough Recreation. Tony Giacomazzi is now running Hillsborough Recreation. You haven't had any interaction with Mr. G?
I guess after Mike Pera stopped responding to my email, it's one of those things. I have other things to do.
Well, my curiosity was, Hillsborough Recreation is an organization as well.
Okay.
And it sounds like your interests might be more aligned with that organization.
Okay.
And I was wondering about your interest here on the school board. It often talks about different topics.
That's it. I'm Mr. Logical. They call me Mr. Logical, and I'm Mr. Practical. So I'll be happy to offer my input into any issues that come up. I'm not going to go, hey, this is the way it's going to be done. So I understand you can't please everybody, but the board is willing to listen to someone, an independent third party who's been in the school, who's had kids gone through the entire system from kindergarten through Crocker and are finishing, the UC system this year. Then, I'm the guy who's been here for a while.
Other question? Actually looking for something. You ready?
Sure.
Margie.
So, I know this process was pretty quick with just 2 weeks, and I don't know the extent to which you're aware of the preparation required for the meetings we have and the homework we do and the people we talk to, and
I understand.
just wondering to what extent were you able to do a little research before this interview and who you talked to, and then if you were appointed, do you have the time, would you be able to make the time? It's
I
a
do.
considerable time commitment.
Yes. Like I said, my wife brought it up, and then my daughter was like, hey, now's your chance to participate in the school. Do something. I go, fine. Time-wise, I would admit everybody's busy. I would be able to attend, I would say 90% of all the board meetings. I do a lot of reading at night. So it's a lot of stuff that I could bring home and read and discuss during the meeting. And of course, there's an option of conferencing also on there, so can you attend or teleconference? I can definitely do that. That's why being physically present, I would say 90% I should do. Yeah.
Right.
I appreciate your comment about, besides trees and traffic and whatnot, it's really about the kids, about doing what's best for our students. And we have, when you say what's best for all our students, we have a broad range of needs for our students. And wherever someone may be on that range, whoever's connected with that is passionate about that need. But there's only so many resources. We have people that are interested in gifted programs. We have students with special needs. We have, I can't name them all. How would you, as a trustee, reflect and think through how to balance those limited number of resources and yet trying to meet that full spectrum of needs, student needs?
We encounter this problem every day, obviously. Limited resources, so much stuff to do. I would prioritize them by timeliness, as far as what is needed now, as opposed to what can wait. Obviously, if you have X number of dollars to spend on 10 programs and you can afford 7, then you just have to say, hey, this we need now, this can wait. Another option is to go back to the community and say to the person who's very passionate about this project, and okay, you are very passionate about it. If you have an idea on how to fund it, we'll fund part of it, and you can have your fundraisers, and you can fund the other half, and we'll make it happen. So just kind of, I know you're spreading yourself thin, but what you're doing is you're going back to the community and saying, hey, you want this, let's make it happen, but can't do it alone. We gotta put a chip in. So.
I had a question. We're going through an appointment process right now to fill the position of a trustee that was just elected last November because she and her family are moving out of the country. And one of the questions on the application was, would you stand for election? I also heard you say a couple times that it seems as though you highly prize privacy. We're surprised to see us in the news. And I would like to ask you if you've had any time to reflect on what the yes answer on your application means, if you'd be willing to stand for election. And in terms of, let me set the context for you. Do you understand the resources? Would you be able to marshal the support? How do you anticipate that process going, whether it happens in 2 years or whether it might happen sooner?
Basically, it really depends on how the first year goes. The board works together. The board, if the other 4 members feel like, hey, if I can work with this guy, I'll be happy to run. If they feel like, hey, I'm not working out, I'll be happy to step aside. So, I mean, everybody who joins us something, like if I were to become a priest, my goal is to be the Pope. If I were to join the board, my goal eventually is to be the superintendent. So, as far as how the process goes, I am the marketing director of business. So I know I've done a lot of political stuff, and I know how it goes. So as far as running campaigns is concerned, I do a lot of that twice a year.
Well, thank you very much. Do you have any ending comments for us?
Nothing really. I mean, like I said, I'm just here offering my input. It's not the most educated. What I mean by educated, it's not the most deep. The most studied input as far as I still have to go through your, through your programs, through your books. I have a big learning curve to go through. Like I said, I'm a very logical person, so I'm a very practical person. So, I mean, as assume the first few months will be a learning process. And then hopefully I should be able to. Small town.
Thank you very much for coming this evening and for submitting your application.
Thanks for considering me,
Appreciate
taking
it.
the time to read.
Thank you.
Are you ready for the next candidate, please, here? That's her cash.
Coming up.
Tony Giacomo, 100 more.
Yeah,
Okay.
right.
We're cutting down 11.
You are?
It's your lucky day, yeah.
On Ralston.
I know,
So we've done safety.
I know there was a time we were doing a town city meeting.
If you'd like to get, there's a lot of information I can share with you. I think you might be